Welcome to the game. I'm Russ Cohen. We've got Nico Riesgo. Nico, how are you?
Russ Cohen, my man.
And Michael Jello, how are you?
Buenas noches.
All right. So before we, break down the World Series, I had a bigger thought about one of the rule changes and how it's affected the game this year, and that is the two throws over from pitchers, and then you can't throw it over again unless you get an out for players that try and steal. So my issue is this: hey, for this year, the teams that loaded up on fast guys like Arizona, hey, they're making out. But for a good majority of the league, it didn't work for them. They got more steals. Everybody's getting more steals. We're getting numbers back to the 80s. But the problem is now you've put the catchers in a position where they can't throw anybody out. And they have to change this rule. Like they have to allow like 4 throws because Arizona has figured out, well, we're just going to get these pitchers to waste their first 2 throws. And then nobody can throw me out based on the jump I get. And Nico, I don't think MLB thought this one through as far as this particular rule.
Absolutely not. You are spot on, Ross, for even bringing this to attention, especially the importance here in the World Series where the advantage goes directly to the D-backs and their speed and their leadoff hitter. And almost everybody in their lineup can steal a base except for possibly Walker. He could probably even run a little bit. But you're right. It's a sham. It's not baseball. So they have completely put the advantage towards speed. And speed cannot be neutralized before. One of the things that I learned playing the game when I used to go into cities and steal 4 bases or 5 bases in a game and hit, 2 or 3 hits and really show out. Basically, what I learned the next day is that there's meetings and there's basically neutralizations meetings. And how do you neutralize a team that has speed? Well, the first thing you do to neutralize is a throw over to first base. And if a runner knows that you only have 2, or if a team knows you only have 2 per inning, it's a joke because they used to throw to first base when I would get on first base because they would not pitch a strike to me because they'd know I would hit it out the ballpark. So they would walk me, but then I would make them pay and steal a base. But to neutralize my speed, literally Felipe Alou came up with the strategy to throw over to first base literally 10, 20 times in a row just to neutralize me. The game now is between the pitcher and that first baseman to get me out. They're not even worried about the hitter anymore. It's neutralize the speed first. Once we got the speed neutralized, then we can go back to the game. And that's not a factor anymore in this game.
Mike?
Yeah, well, I do definitely think that Arizona's using it as a tactic. It was successful against the Phillies. I did hear, I think it was Buster Olney or Ken Rosenthal or somebody say that one tactic that Texas may use is to have their catcher, Jonah Heim, after a pitch is thrown, to throw over to first base to try to pick him off. And that doesn't go.
That's hard to do. Like we see catchers do that a couple times a game, but that's hard to do.
I know it is, but it's for the process, for the the possibility of catching them off first base or even keeping them close. So they have to stay a little bit more aware. But that being said, I mean, what Nico just described is a tactic that they can't use. Now, obviously, the Major League Baseball is not going to go back because you're going to have pitchers throwing all there over the time. That eliminates the pitch clock, and that will, their end game, their end goal here is to have shorter games. I personally think that all the rules, with the exception of the pitch clock, should be suspended for the playoffs. It's the playoffs. I don't care if it's 4 hours. It means everything. Suspend those rules. We know that in football, in basketball, in hockey, a penalty during the regular season and a penalty during the playoffs are 2 completely different things. So why should baseball be any different?
No, I think you're making sense because I don't see any other way around this. And it's just something like Nico, there was times when obviously baseball favored home runs, so they did things to get home runs. Then they decided, all right, there's not enough speed, so now it's favoring speed. It's like I don't, and this isn't any sport, hockey, all of them. Football does this all the time. They artificially change rules to boost offense. And I'm just always against that. I always feel like baseball's against the pitchers, and you can't tell me now that this isn't, against the pitchers, because this affects how the pitchers pitch.
You know what? They have to do something to spark the offense, because what they did is they built these giant, humongous stadiums where it's impossible to hit home runs in order to bring down the salaries and to slow down the offense. So they don't want these hitters to hit a lot of home runs, but they want some offense and some hits and maybe some line drives and some bunts and some speed and some stolen bases. And they wanted just a National League dynamic game, Central, where it's going to take a while for these American League teams to catch up to the speed game. And that's the only answer, Russ, is the base series, the World Series, to take all these fake rules off and just play it through. Not even a man on second base in extra innings.
Yeah, I mean, like the Mets had a guy, LeCastro, who was literally just there to steal. He could barely hit. And I just think I don't want those guys on the team. Like, I forget the guy's name. I think it was Herb Washington, who was the pinch runner that Charlie Finley signed with the A's, and he was a track guy, and he got some steals, but he also didn't know how to take a lead, and so ultimately it didn't work out. But like Mike, I think it's a tremendous waste of a roster spot to have a guy like LeCastro now that is super fast, but he's like a 200 or sub 200 hitter.
I mean, I know Tim LeCastro because he played for Arizona, he played for the Yankees, and back before the last few years, he was actually a pretty decent hitter. So, he just sort of the one, and he's a decent outfielder too. So the one aspect of his game that's sort of remained after a couple injuries was his speed. But the thing is, what you just said and what Nico just said is dead on. They suspended the ghost runner in the playoffs. Okay. Obviously, that was a rule that you want to preserve extra innings and the way it traditionally has been in the playoffs. So you should suspend these other rules that are meant specifically for speeding up the game during a 162 game season when you don't want teams playing until 3:00 in the morning. I get that. I don't agree with it, but I get that. But in the playoffs, when everything is meaningful, you should allow the way the game normally is played or normally used to be played to continue to be played.
Okay. So another thing that, was changed. I don't know what year it changed, but I remember when all leagues got cheap about travel, they all decided, oh, we've got to augment the way home field advantages and how the games are laid out. So now we get the 2-3-2. I don't know how you guys feel, but Mike, I feel like the 2-3-2 really does give the advantage to the visiting team because you get 3 games in a row. Like, that's an advantage. I don't care who you are, where you are, to be 3 games in your hometown and you're not the team that had the best record makes no sense. I'd rather have the 1-1-1, and if it's a little extra travel, fine. And if it goes an extra 2 days, fine. But I do think it upsets the competitive balance.
Yeah, I mean, it's been in existence at least since 2001 because that famous Arizona New York World Series was 2-3-2 because the Yankees got destroyed in Game 6 and then lost the Game 7 on the Gonzalez hit for Mariano Rivera. So it's like
that was a shame. Yeah.
Yeah, I know it was, Russ. I mean,
it was a great moment in Diamondbacks history, though, which is a good tie-in here.
Yes, and so was when they fixed the plumbing at their arena, at their stadium. But honestly, it's like, I mean, I agree, but we're sort of barking up the wrong tree here because as we've seen with what's going on in hockey right now with the draft and what's going on with other sports and what they're implementing, it's money. It's all money. And what the fans want and what is good for the sport is completely meaningless. It's all about the money. It's all about the Benjamins, and that's all they care about.
Nico.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I'm going to predict the Diamondbacks to win in 5 because it's
Well,
going to
first talk
be.
about the 2-3-2.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll
well, the
get to the
2-3-2,
prediction.
the Diamondbacks have the favor. I got the Diamondbacks in 5 because they got that 5th game at home, and if they
Okay.
could come out with the win tonight, and then win out at home, they're the champions, and they've got the favor. So I think that the home favorite should start off with 3 or 1-1, 2-2, 1-1, things like that. But I agree that visiting team to have those 3-game home stretch, it gives them an advantage if they can just get one game on the road and bam, they've got the home field advantage already.
Well,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the way I feel. All right. So
let me just add one thing. The precedent's already been set with that opening round where the three games are in one in the city that has the team that has the better record. I mean, I've heard it proposed that if it's a 7-game series, that the team that has home field, that they should get, the team with the worst record gets the first 2 at home, and then the next 5, so games 7, go to the team with the home field advantage. So
I'm not against that, by the way. I'm not against that.
I think
that could be good.
That could be real good. I actually love that, Mike. Definitely.
Because at least if a team is going to have an advantage, it should be the team that had the better record.
Yeah, in 2 games on the road to start off for that advantage, you're going to win one of those 2, or at least hope to win one of those 2. Even if you lose 2 of 2, you're coming home for 5 on a run to win that World Series. I mean, that's the real advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's all interesting. So the World Series as a whole, I don't think it's going to do well ratings-wise, but certainly a diehard like me is going to watch it. When I look at it, and I'm going to go to Nico first, because you're the guy who really trumpeted the Diamondbacks more than anybody here on this panel. And while I said they were scrappy, I still ended up picking the Phillies. I did, and I didn't change it. Although I knew there was a good chance the Diamondbacks could win. I knew that. But when I look at this series, and I know the Diamondbacks had the speed, and right now Marte, he's got the most hits. They're still lacking in power. There's some things they're lacking in. They're very good fundamentally, though. They really are. They can bunt. They actually know how to play National League Baseball, which kind of makes me like them in a way. But I think their issue, Nico, is I don't think they have enough power, and I don't think they have good enough starters. Like, they have starters that are, that are decent. They have good regular season stats, but I don't think they're tested enough to start like becoming these playoff guys. Now we'll see. They got past Philly, but barely. And so, like, I think their starting staff is lacking at least that one ace. At least Texas has that, and Texas has more than that.
Well, I guess, Russ, you haven't been watching Holy Fat pitch. I mean, this guy has turned into the greatest pitcher of all time. I mean, the way he's taking the ball and the way he's aggressive on the mound, I would not want to face him right now. Surely
the Phillies beat him. What are you talking about?
Holy Fat, the pitcher, the Diamondbacks starter.
No, I know. The Phillies beat him.
No, but his last game. I'm talking in the game to win it all. When it was on Game 7, who was the pitcher in Game 7 to win it
you're
all?
talking about the young guy, not Cal, not their number one. I'm sorry. Yes. Okay, and maybe he'll be that guy. And you're right. He had a 6 ERA during the regular season or something really high, but he's pitching well in the playoffs. But now all of a sudden you're going to proclaim this guy the guy, and you know what? Now with 2 starts, they've had a lot of chance to do film work on him. So I don't know if I'm with you on that.
Well, here's the thing. You're going to see, again, National League Baseball at its greatest, okay? Because what Arizona has done, you don't have to worry about power when you have National League Baseball. Speed will take over the game eventually. Somebody's going to get on base, and boom, there's a stolen base, and boom, there's a broken bat hit, and there's a run, just like that. And 2 guys on, and then 2 stolen bases before it happens. The defense is going to get mesmerized. And when you look at the pitchers that Arizona has, their pitchers are more spin rates. So when you're looking at the World Series, the pressure of the World Series, these American League hitters are just bombs away. Seager's not going to get the ball being straight at all. He's not going to see one straight ball. It's all going to be spinning this way, spinning that way, spinning this way. We're going to see more strikeouts by the Rangers than we've ever seen. And that's going to be the advantage of the Arizona Diamondbacks. They even got their closer, Dinko, is that his name? He is on fire.
Yeah.
He has a ball that goes straight down. So
yeah, but you understand that Texas aren't the Phillies. The Phillies are first ball hitters. They big strikeout guys. Schwarber leads the league every year in strikeouts. The Rangers don't have those big strikeout guys like that.
Yeah,
I would disagree. Seager will strike out with everybody. And you
Not
also
like
have a couple
Schwarber.
other hitters throughout that lineup that have big holes. Even Garcia has big holes if it's spinning. Now, if you throw something straight, Garcia is going to be an MVP player. But he's not going to see anything straight in this World Series.
He's not going to see anything. Okay.
Okay, Seager struck out 88 times during the regular season. That's not
That's
not too
nothing.
much.
He's had his best year. He's had his best year. And
Yeah,
he's not facing National League pitching. This is the difference. We're gonna be exposed here. You're gonna see a difference between American League pitching, which is meat, compared to National League pitching, which is nasty.
He came from the National League. He played his entire career until the last 2 years in the National League. So I think he knows the Arizona Diamondbacks.
He struck out a lot. Look at his strikeouts in the National League.
Well, I'm talking about what he's doing in the American League.
Right.
I mean,
that's no pitch in there. There's nothing there.
My God, please. First of all, the guy you have to worry about in terms of going, bombs away is Adolis Garcia. Now, if you're talking about like him, then he had an ALCS for the ages. He's going to calm down. But if guys like Simeon and Haim and Young and Tavares, they have a much deeper lineup than Arizona. Now, I'll grant you that I think that Arizona is going to try to do what they did with the Phillies. I just don't know whether they're going to be as successful because I think the Rangers are sort of wise to that strategy, and I think they're probably going to have.
Bochy's former catcher, right? He's going to figure some of this out. He is.
He's going to be exposed because there's nothing he can do. Two throwovers from the pitcher is not going to be enough.
Exposed so he doesn't win his third championship? What do you mean?
That means the catchers. He's a catcher. They're not going to be able to slow down the running game.
No. But as the manager who was a former catcher, he will figure out ways. He will also talk to his pitching staff, which I don't think the Phillies, got the message on that.
He'll figure out old ways when there wasn't a 2-throw limit. His hands are strapped. He's handcuffed with this 2-throw limit. There's no way out of this.
Well, like I said, the tactic that they may use is to have the catcher throw over more often, because that is a way. It's not the same thing.
It's too late. He's already stolen the base, Mike.
No,
Mike. For the time that you just talked, he already stole a base. Like the game hasn't even started.
No, by the time the catcher gets the ball and throws over to first base, he has stolen that base. That's what I'm saying.
He hasn't stolen the base. He's waiting for the 2 throwovers first. Then he's going to steal the base.
Yeah, you may as well end the show now. Diamondbacks in 4. Come on.
Okay, so the 2 throwovers go over Russ. Okay, and then on the next pitch after that second throwover, what happens? Does he steal, or does the catcher get to throw him out?
Maybe they quick pitch.
Right, they could quick pitch.
Okay, although and then they waste a pitch. They're going to waste balls.
Who cares about wasting a pitch? The only thing, Mike, is it's hard to quick pitch now because the pitcher has to get the batter's attention. Remember, there's that whole attention thing, or you can't throw the ball.
Well, you got to stop completely, or it's a buck.
Right.
The one thing here is Nathan Eovaldi can't quick pitch. He's somebody who, if we were playing Stratomatic, is a +9, meaning he can't hold anybody.
But he's a horse. So, he's been really good.
He's been really good. But I'm just saying he's the guy. Right. It's going to be difficult for him to, sort of slide step and throw. And, he relies on his velocity more than anything, even after 2 Tommy John surgeries. So it's good. I'm not saying it's not going to be a challenge for the Rangers, but I just don't know whether the Diamondbacks can use just this tactic by itself to be able to beat.
No, it's not going to be by itself. But they didn't figure this out until
Hey, we had
probably
those
game
two.
3 against the Phillies. But
Yeah.
anyhow, Mike,
What
who
was
do you
that?
think? Who do you like? How many games and why?
I like Texas in 6. I do think that what we discussed is are going to be challenges for the Rangers, and I do think Garcia is going to cool down. Otherwise, he's going to be the playoff MVP. But if he does cool down, it will allow Arizona to pitch around Seager. But Simeon really didn't do much in the it
Did
has
nothing.
much in the playoffs. So I expect him to come around. And like I said, I think Texas has a much deeper lineup. I mean, the one concern I have with Texas is, I don't think they can start Scherzer any more than one game in a 7-game series.
No, one game. That's it. He's getting one game.
Probably
But
game.
it's an important game because even last game, like the mistake they made before with Scherzer was trying to get him to the 5th inning. He's not that guy at the moment. He didn't have the greatest season. He was hurt. Now he's got a little finger issue. I'm sure they'll glue it. But I'm just looking for 4 innings out of Max Scherzer, and then I'm going to the bullpen. I don't care what he looks like. He could have 4 scoreless innings, and I'm taking him out. And I think it's still valuable to have him though, because again, he's like a different kind of pitcher than what they have. And if nothing else, when you take him out, you can bring in a lefty if you want and really screw up the lineup. And so like I'm okay with Scherzer just going 4 innings. To me, it's fine.
Yeah.
Russ, you got Max Scherzer, Russ, the greatest of the greatest here, throwing 4 shutout innings, and you're going to take him out, Russ, in the World
Yes,
Series?
I'm
No,
taking him out.
no. There's no analytics here. There's no nothing here. This is your horse. He's throwing
He's not
good.
the same
He's
horse
throwing
right
great.
now.
You let
He's
him
missing
go.
a shoe.
Let him go. Maybe the 7th, you take him out if he's throwing a no-hitter, and you take him out because it's 7th and 8th. But no, you let him go, Russ.
His horseshoe is missing 2 nails in it. He's not the same guy right now.
But he's throwing a shutout, Russ. You have to go by the dynamics of the moment. And that's what's so awesome about Torey Lovullo. Let me just speak about Torey Lovullo here and give him a little props as we gave to Bochy, because we all know
he's an
about
excellent
the legacy of
manager. He's
Bochy.
really
But we're
good.
about to find out the beginning legacy of Torey Lovullo. And let me tell you something about Torey. I got a close look at him.
Oh God.
He grew up right here in Southern California, a UCLA boy. I got a chance to play against him when he was at UCLA. And here's the little smallest guy on the field, but he would swing for the fences. He would hit bombs. And he got a tutelage, a mentorship from one of the greatest managers to ever manage, Sparky Anderson. And Torey Lovullo brings that whole spirit of Sparky Anderson, a new legacy, a dynasty in the Arizona that was in the making. And you could see it all happen under his tutelage. And Arizona has a leader for a decade to come, and that's Torey Lovullo.
That was beautiful, Nico. That's beautiful. Mike, go ahead.
He was a manager of the AAA Buffalo Bison, so that and $5 to get you a coffee at Starbucks. Now, I just say this about Scherzer: he's got Elmer's tattooed on his forehead right now. I mean, he is a horse that is shot right now. So I get him out after maybe 1.5 passes through the lineup, maybe 2. I mean.
Right.
He did a good job in Game 7. He got in and out of trouble, but he's not the Scherzer of even a couple years ago. So if you get out of that game in the 4th inning with a lead, you go to your bullpen. That's what you do.
Exactly. No, that's exactly. I like the Rangers because, for one thing, I like Bochy. I do think he's still the better of the 2 managers. I don't like the extra trust he has in Leclerc. That bothers me because Leclerc's really not a two inning guy, and it makes me nervous having him in there for 2 innings. I do think, like Mike, that Simeon will do something that he hasn't done yet. Seager's one of the great clutch hitters in postseason right now. Garcia is the guy on fire. Now, Marte has the most hits, but Garcia is the most feared batter here right now. You can't, and with that lineup, you really can't pitch around them. If you do, you're still going to have other troubles. Texas has good fielding, and they're starting pitching. I mean, Eovaldi could win 2 games in this series, and he might be the best pitcher right now in this entire World Series. I know Nico went with the hot take, young guy, but Eovaldi's been impressing me. And I probably thought 4 or 5 years ago that Eovaldi was Sid Fernandez, and he's gotten better. Like, I don't know what it is, Mike, but he's improved a lot as a pitcher.
When Nico said big fat, I thought he was talking about Sid Fernandez, but no, I mean, granted, like I think Arizona only wins this series if Zach Gallen pitches like a number one starter.
Right, and that's the thing. He hasn't. That's what I thought Nico brought up beforehand, and I misunderstood. Yeah.
And he might be dinged up. He might have some injury that is making him pitch not as he was during the regular season. So I mean, we'll have to see. But right now, since in the playoffs, he has not pitched like a number one.
And look, I like Travis Jankowski, former Met. He went to Stony Brook. I mean, Stony Brook University is out in the middle of nowhere on Long Island. So I have to root for him. But seriously, though,
Russ is the president of the Tommy Pham fan club too.
No, but Tommy Pham has his moments. Now the thing is, they can't keep Pham in there as an everydayer. I think that was exposed in the Phillies series because his fielding isn't good. So I don't think they can have him in there every game. So that's a problem that if they keep running that out there, I think that's going to be an issue. But again, I'm liking Texas in 7. I do think the home field means something. And I think in the end, a guy like Scherzer extends, the bullpen because they don't have to necessarily have a bullpen game. And I think that does give him a little bit of advantage. Plus they have a lot of brain power on that bench. You got him, you still have DeGrom on the bench. There's a lot of guys that could talk to those pitchers. And I'm all for seeing the Texas Rangers win their first ever championship. Like, I remember, collecting their baseball cards and, guys like Toby Harrah, Jeff Burrows, it's been forever. They've only been to one World Series. So I think it's their time. I always have this feeling that, and I've told people this, that I always think at some point every team wins. Even the Maple Leafs, Mike, but they just haven't won recently. But they've won before.
Well, I just have to say this, Russ, though. We have to thank the Texas Rangers for preventing the Houston Astros from being in the World Series for the 3rd year in a row, because they didn't deserve to, because they're a disgusting organization that deserves never to win ever again.
No, I owe them a debt of gratitude. But I'm just saying, for teams that have never won before, like I said years ago, I thought the Cubs would have their day. I didn't know when. I made up a fake date in the future just for the fun of it. But like, this is another one where you can kind of notch it off and say, okay, they could finally win. And I think that is a huge motivating factor. Ownership has spent a lot of money the last couple of years. Some of it blew up in their face, and some of it's working now. So we'll see. I mean, Nico, I get it. I see why you like the Diamondbacks. They're a fun team to watch. I think this will be a fun World Series to watch if people actually watch it. I don't know who's going to watch it.
Absolutely, Russ. As we see over the years, it gets better and better every single year, and this year will be no different. If the Rangers win this thing, it'll be historic for the game. We've never seen anything like it in the history of the game. The Rangers winning a World Series. And the last time, if everybody remembers, the last time we saw the Rangers have an opportunity for the World Series, it came down to that Game 7. It came down actually to they were one pitch away from winning their first World Series ever. So if they can capture that this year, we're going to see magic. And if they lose by any chance, we're going to see some magic from Arizona, because it's going to take the dynamics of speed like we've never seen the game have before. It's going to see the dynamics of great pitching. It's going to
at least they'll finally fill the stadium, the Diamondbacks. So there's that.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great game.
They won't have any more $4 or $12 tickets.
Well, the one thing is, Texas doesn't have to worry because David Freese is not on the Arizona Diamondbacks.
All right. That's it. Nico, you have anything you want to push?
Today's game brought to you by Spirit Halloween. Get in the spirit.
All right.
Enjoy the game.
That's it for the game. We'll catch everybody next time.
My man.